How's it going? Jesse with etrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at, and I'll show you how to install the Yakima Roof Rack System on your 2017 Honda Fit. Adding a roof rack to a smaller vehicle like a Honda Fit makes a lot of sense just because there's not a lot of cargo or storage area in this vehicle. This gives you the ability to add on maybe a roof box or a bike rack or even a kayak rack or something like that. Your roof rack kit will come with two 50-inch crossbars, 4 towers, and 4 sets of pads and clamps. As you can see, the crossbars are a very aerodynamic design. They'll cut down on wind noise, and you'll have this rubber strip in the middle here. If you have any accessories that are channel mounted, you'll just push down here and mount them up. You don't have to worry about cutting a strip out or anything like that, like other versions of roof racks. The tower has a nice plastic case around it, and this little piece here, you can replace this with a locking core. You can also get it key-to-like to other Yakima accessories. Then for the pad, it's going to be rubberized just to get a better grip and not to scratch the paint on your vehicle. Along with the metal clamp here, has a rubber strip so you don't scratch your vehicle. As far as weight capacities go on roof racks, we always recommend to double check your owner's manual because that will have its own weight capacity for the roof, and just compare the two numbers between the roof rack and the owner's manual and choose the lowest one. That way whatever you are going to throw on top of here is going to be safe to carry. And for some measurements, just keep in mind that when you add a roof rack on, it will add some height to it. So I like to measure from the roof to the bottom of the roof rack is 3.5 inches, and then your clearance on top from the roof to the top is 4.5 inches. So compared to another roof rack that we installed on the same vehicle, this one sits a lot farther forward. So you'll see it does not block any view from the sunroof. And speaking of the sunroof, I'll just show you that it does open and close just fine with the roof rack installed. That's the tilt there. And there it slides back. If you're looking to add on a roof rack to your Honda Fit, I think this is a great choice. Yakima makes great products. These racks have a lot of adjustability, so especially with a car like this that doesn't really have a very flat roof, it makes it easy to get everything lined up and tilted the way you want it. The only thing I have to say is, compared to the Rhino rack, this is a little more difficult to install. So if you're looking for something that maybe you're going to take off and put back on, I'd definitely choose the Rhino rack over this. But all in all, this is a great choice. As for the install, as I said, it's slightly complicated, not too hard. You just have to take your time with it, make a few tweaks as you go. So if you want to set it up yourself, I'll show you how we set up ours today if you just follow along. Before we start our installation, which you might already see that I have the front one installed already, but the rear crossbar will install essentially the same way. I just like to lay the parts out, make sure everything is included. So we have our crossbar here, and then our tower, which will come in, looks like 4 pieces. I'll show you how to assemble that in a second. Then our torquing tool, it's a hex, a measuring tape, our 2 pads, and our 2 clamps. To assemble our tower, we'll take this little piece. This should snap into place. And then our block here, we'll have to kind of line it up. It might be easier to grab the tool and then hold the bolt from underneath. And slowly thread that on. We don't want to go too far because we still need to slide that into our crossbar. You'll know when to stop tightening that down once you see that it's level with these plastic tabs here. Now we're ready to install our towers into our crossbar. We'll take our crossbar, flip it over, and these end caps need to be removed. So there's just a tab here, you lift up and it slides out. You could just remove one end and slide both your towers in, but I'll remove both just to show you how. Slides up, take our tower, this side on the outside, and you'll have to line it up into this channel here. Slide that in, and then do the same process on the other one. Now we have our towers slid into place. I like to reinstall our end caps just so our towers don't slide off. So pop both those back in. And now we go to our M3 measurement. That's the distance that our towers are away from each other. So find that. That's just from the inner edge of both. And then I like to measure from the outside to the tower just to make sure we're even. Which we're a little bit off. This will take some playing around with just to get everything measured up right. When you're trying to set up your towers, you might see that there is a ruler kind of printed onto the crossbar. So you could use that. I prefer to use a measuring tape, especially with this rack that's been in the shop for years and has seen some abuse. Now with our towers lined up, we'll need to adjust our pitch. So you can reveal this bolt by sliding this gray tab back. This will be our P2 on our instructions, which in our case is in the B, which is actually the middle where it's already lined up. This being the rear crossbar, that's in the B position. The front crossbar on our setup is in the A position. You'll know which position is A and B based on the arrow in the middle here and the diagram in our instructions. So since we have ours lined up correctly, we're going to tighten it down now. And with all the bolts on this, the tool that comes with it is a torque wrench. You'll just want to turn it until you hear click. Now that we've set the pitch on both sides, we're ready to install our pad. The arrow on the bottom of the pad should face towards the outside. It should just slide over that rod there and then clip in on both sides. At this point we can adjust our toe angle, which will be our T2 measurement for the rear, which is the 1 position. So we'll just have to take our pad, turn it, and again the arrow's facing that way. This is our 1 position in the diagram, and we can tighten it down and then repeat that process on the other side. At this point we're ready to put our crossbars on the vehicle. For now I'm just going to kind of guess where it goes. The rounder part will be the front. You see this one's a little sharper. More round part is on the front. There's a good chance that you might have to make some minor adjustments once you get everything in place. But once we do have everything in place, we're ready to install our clamps. So I'll just open the door here. And then you'll see this little gray door. Open that up. And we'll have to lift our crossbar up. Slide our clamp in, it should hook on. And then at this point, just to make sure that you don't scratch the paint on your car, I like to take everything and kind of loosen it up. This screw here will adjust the swing, and then this other screw will adjust the height. So get that. Once we have this right here, we just need to pull this molding down. That way we're making contact with the metal on the vehicle and not this rubber. So we got that there. Now I like to kind of alternate between tightening. I'll start with the swing, get that where I kind of want it, and then tighten this one down. You'll kind of have to play with it back and forth just to figure out how you can get it seated the way you want it. Once we have that, we'll do that on the other side, and we're about ready to go. One other thing I wanted to mention is when you're tightening this down on your first side and you notice it to lift, it's a good idea to move to the other side, start tightening that down, and you can kind of work back and forth. That way they're not fighting each other. Once everything's situated the way that looks good to you, just go ahead and make sure everything's torqued. Then we'll close our door, close the car door, and this cap, you just got to slide the tabs over on the bottom. It's kind of tricky sometimes. Once you have the clamps on, it kind of gets in the way. But let's click that into place. That's going to do it for our install of the Yakima Crossbar system on our 2017 Honda Fit.